And there are certain guys who are consistently, year after year, involved in those things. There are people who monitor people in the community, keep notes on them just to ensure that they do not benefit from the resources that are available to them in this country. The way I analyze and I see the situation is, if it is that everybody is paying tax, St. Lucia is extremely tiny. St. Lucia is a small dot. In most places, it is difficult to go through a city and to see people that you know. In this place, when you pass through the city of Castries, you will see many people that you know or you would have seen before. This is why it is extremely important that we watch how we deal, how we interact with people. This is a very small place. And because of this small landmass, it is very easy for your reputation to be spoiled in this country. And for the most part, we have a system where bad news, wrong information, misinformation tend to spread much more readily than the truth. This is why when I talk to the young people, young guys, I ask them to behave themselves, because you commit a crime in this place and you can mess up your entire future as long as you stay in this country. It is a small place and people need to be very careful. We need to be very careful how we deal with other people in this place. But the point I really want to talk about, and it's a point that bothers me a lot. Why is it that in a small country like that, you find it is so easy for people to disrespect people, victimize people on political levels? You're living in a community, less than 10,000 people. Before, it was not like that. People were living in unity. And then you have a situation where people will try to prevent others from eating a bread just because they are not supporting the party that they support. And what we have in some of these communities is a situation where people will discuss the demise, the downfall of others in rum shops. So you'll find a situation where a political party will win an election and guys will discuss the firing of people. Certain times you have these people who transport people to transport students to school, and they get contracts with the government to do that. And fellows will discuss in the rum shops and plan who they're going to get rid of, who they're going to make the minister get rid of. All of that in a small community, and in some cases they are related. These are people who know each other, who are related to each other. And when I look at and analyze these things, it is almost like a dark ignorant, foolish, useless thinking pattern. And there are certain guys who are consistently, year after year, involved in those things. There are people who monitor people in the community, keep notes on them just to ensure that they do not benefit from the resources that are available to them in this country. The way I analyze and I see the situation is, if it is that everybody is paying tax, when you buy groceries, when you buy a shoe, when you buy a fridge, whatever it is that you do, you pay taxes. Now I understand that if it is that somebody helps somebody with an election, there are certain benefits and privileges they will bestow upon them. We understand that. But to the extent that you will try to prevent somebody from eating a bread, and these people pay taxes like everybody else, but you will try to use the strength of government and the resources against the people of the country. Now, these are the things that used to happen, and it still happen in many African countries. So when I was a teenager, I was a boy, I used to read a lot sometimes. And I used to follow magazines and see what is happening in some African countries. And it was customary to see rebel fighters trying to topple or destabilize governments in Africa. And I used to consider these acts to be acts of savagery. I used to think like it is really ignorant people who do those things, people who really do not care about their country. But now, when you look at, you see, the wickedness that some people do to the populace is not apparent to most. But when those who see and know and understand the victimization and the disrespect that is showed to people in this country by some people just because you do not vote for them, when you understand what is going on, I now understand why these African guys were trying to topple the governments, were trying to destabilize countries. Because when you look at certain guys in Africa, they were squandering, stealing all the resources for themselves. They would have had houses in foreign countries. And these countries, they got their independence from what is the only ones really benefiting from the country. So the rebels see that as a situation that is unfavorable to the progress and development of the proletariats. And the best thing to do to change that order is to get rid of this government. That's how the Africans look at it, the rebels, and to usher in something that would be result in more equitable distribution of wealth, opportunities, and resources. And it is only now, as I get to be a man, I really understand why these people were behaving that way. Because I used to consider these men to be savages, very ignorant people who do not love their country. I look at them as people who take pride in messing up their own countries. But now I see those people as people who love their country and was interested in the growth and development of their people and for equitable distribution of wealth in the country. And when I look at this situation, we have a situation where there are people who grew up under struggles, grew up in poverty, and for somehow they they got some level of education or whatever. And they're now using the powers that they have as a result of being affiliated to political parties to squeeze, victimize, and deprive some people of the community from resources. And it is very important that people take those things, think about this, and stop this kind of thing, especially against the backdrop of the rising crime that we have in the country. It is very important that these people who victimize people and they're behaving like they're doing it with impunity, that they stop this thing. We want the country to go forward where people have opportunities. And we know that there will never be an equal society. You will try to create a society where everything will be equal, but somehow, somewhere, some people will corrupt it. But much more and much better can be done in this country. There are some people who just go too far in terms of trying to make sure that other people do not eat. And I've mentioned that many times on this channel. And other people have been talking about that too. But in this country, people do not hear the plight of other people unless it affects them personally. We have crime in this country.